The internet is currently losing its mind over a leak that says the upcoming Valve Steam machine is going to cost over $1,000. If you've been on Reddit, X, or any major gaming news site in the last few hours, you've seen the headlines, with thousands of people calling the device dead on arrival before Valve has even had a chance to release an actual price. It's easy to see why people are frustrated. $1,000 for a dedicated gaming box is a massive ask, especially when we're used to the incredible value Valve provided with the Steam Deck. But here's the thing. If you're worried about that price tag, you can take a deep breath and relax. I've spent the morning digging into the source of this leak, a Czech retailer called Smarty.cz, and when you actually look at the math and the logistics, the $1,000 figure starts to fall apart instantly. Today we're clearing up the confusion. I'm going to show you exactly why this price isn't legit, how this specific retailer operates, and what the actual price is likely to be based on Valve's own history of hardware distribution. We're going to look at the hidden markups these retailers use and why you should never trust a third-party listing for a first-party Valve product. This all started when a listing was found hidden in the source code of the Smarty.cz website. It showed two configurations, a 512GB model for roughly $950 and a 2TB model for about $1,070 with currency conversions. Naturally, tech journalists saw those numbers and hit the publish button as fast as they could. But we need to talk about who Smarty actually is. They are a third-party electronics reseller based in the Czech Republic. Now, some people online are trying to claim they are an authorized Valve partner, but that is actually completely wrong. If you look at Valve's official documentation regarding hardware, they have a very strict distribution chain. For Asia, they use Komodo. For North America and the majority of Europe, including the Czech Republic, Valve sells directly to the consumer through the Steam store. Valve generally doesn't use middlemen in these regions because middlemen need to make a profit, which drives the price up for you. So why does Smarty.cz have a listing at all? It's what we call a ghost listing. Retailers do this to capture SEO traffic and generate buzz. They want to be the first result when you Google buy Steam machine. It's the exact same reason you can find random websites with listings for Half-Life 3 or Red Dead Redemption 3. It doesn't mean they have inside information, it means that they just want your clicks. They set the price high, way higher than it would actually be, just to protect themselves. Now, I know that Smarty.cz being just some random third-party reseller might not be enough for some people, so to prove that these prices are wrong, we don't have to guess. We just have to look at how Smarty.cz treats hardware that is already out. Let's look at the Steam Deck OLED 512GB model. On the official Steam store, that device costs $549. If you go to Smarty right now and convert their price to US dollars, they are selling that exact same Steam Deck from roughly $700 to $760. That is a massive 25 to 40% markup over the actual MSRP. So just think about why that is. And it's because they aren't an authorized partner. It's not like they're getting these units at a wholesale discount from Valve. They're likely buying them at retail prices themselves, importing them into Czech, and then adding their own convenience fee on top so they can make some profit. Now let's apply that same reseller math to the leaked Steam machine prices. If Smarty is listing a GameCube for $1,000 and we strip away that 30% markup they add to everything else Valve related, we land at a price of roughly $699. Suddenly, the dead-on-arrival $1,000 disaster becomes a $700 high-performance PC that matches almost exactly with what we've been speculating since the very beginning. It puts the Steam machine in direct competition with the PS5 Pro, which is exactly where Valve needs to be if they want to take over your living room, but give you more options with a full-on PC. Now, to be fair to the skeptics, Valve has been very open about the fact they aren't going to sell this as a subsidized console. In an interview with Pierre, Valve confirmed they aren't planning to eat a massive loss on every unit sold. Instead, they said the Steam machine will be priced like a PC.
Valve's not going into this thinking we're going to eat a big loss on this so that we can grow market like share or category or anything like that, correct?
No, it's more in line with what you might expect from the current PC market. Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, our goal is for it to be a good deal at that level of performance, and then you have features that are actually really hard to build if you're making your own gaming PC from parts.
A lot of people hear that and assume it means $1,000 or $1,200, but that's not what Valve's internal philosophy is. What they actually said is that they want the price to be very competitive with what it would cost you to build a PC from parts yourself.
I think that if you build a PC from parts and get to basically the same level of performance, that's the general price window that we aim to be at. Ideally, we'd be pretty competitive with that and have a pretty good deal, but we're working on refining that as we speak. And right now is just a hard time to have a really good idea of what the price is going to be, because there's a lot of different things that are fluctuating.
Yeah, a lot of external factors there.
Yeah.
If you go out today and buy a semi-custom AMD Zen 4 CPU and an RDNA 3 GPU similar to what's inside this Steam machine, you aren't spending $1,000 on those parts. You're actually spending significantly less. Valve's goal is to hit that sweet spot where the Steam machine is a good deal compared to building your own. They also have a massive advantage of buying all these parts at scale. Even if they aren't selling at a loss, they are buying components in bulk quantities that you and I can't get. So if Valve wants this to be competitively priced with a PC, they are looking at the $600 to $800 range where most mid-range PC builds live. That is what you should be expecting, and not this leak that everyone is panicking about. So if the math is this easy to debunk, why is every tech site on the planet running this story? And it's pretty simple. Outrage sells. Valve's new console is $1,000, gets 10 times the clicks of Czech reseller puts placeholder price on website. These sites are looking for the hot take and the fresh leak, but they aren't doing the due diligence of checking the retailer's history. They're ignoring the reality of taxes, currency conversion, and the fact that Smarty.cz has a reputation for being one of the most overpriced tech sites in Eastern Europe. Even if you are someone who thinks $1,000 sounds realistic for the specs, you should still expect the price to be significantly lower when buying directly from Valve. When you cut out the middleman, you cut out the 30% greed tax that these third-party sites are adding. Valve wants this to be a good deal at that level of performance, not just a luxury gimmick. So the bottom line is, don't let these headlines scare you into thinking Valve has lost their minds. This leak is nothing more than a placeholder from a site that has a track record of charging more than Valve does. It's a way for a small retailer to get global attention, and well, it seemingly worked. We likely won't know the price until Valve decides to update the Steam store for pre-orders, which rumors suggest is coming sooner rather than later if all is going to plan. But based on what we've seen today, anything near the $1,000 price point is making gamers turn away. I wanted to clear this all up in a dedicated video because it feels like every tech site is talking about this, but almost nobody is looking into the actual source. So I want to hear from you. If the Steam machine does land at $699 right next to the PS5 Pro, is that a day one buy for you, or is that still too high for a console experience? Let me know in the comments your thoughts on the Steam machine pricing.